A very good evening. Welcome to the podcast show, everybody. We're here tonight once again with the Sunday podcast, 8 o'clock sharp. As you know, live show with all of the guys, the panelists. We're going to be talking about cricket. How's it, everybody? Good to see you all. I haven't seen some of you or one of you in a long time. Zippo, what's up? Not here yet. Still getting yourself ready. Umpo, Aditya, great to see you guys. How's your weekends?
Go ahead, Impu.
Okay, weekend was good. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Yeah, I just watched the Tom Curran masterclass. Was beautiful to see. Baffling decisions from Rishabh Pant, but yeah, it's like I don't understand why people still think Tom Curran is a good death bowler. Like he did well in the middle overs, but that's where it ended. But yeah, look, it is what it is. I feel sorry for Delhi because I don't think they're gonna get to that final.
Incredible from Dhoni, Aditya.
Well, this is apart from 2020, the Chennai Super Kings have qualified for the playoffs every single time they've played the IPL. So it just reconfirms the old adage in India that the IPL is a tournament in which 7 teams compete to play the Chennai Super Kings in the final. So incredible. I think it was a great playoff, and at one point Chennai was cruising. So it was great to see Shreyas Iyer with a couple of gems in the field to really swing the game back in Delhi's favor. But then Chennai was just too good in the end, and it was so courageous of MSD to come in ahead of Jadeja, because MSD is clearly out of form, not the batsman that he was, but in a pressure situation when they needed 24 of 12, he came in and he delivered with 3 balls to spare. So great cricket all round.
Yeah, great cricket all round. I mean, whenever there's no Premier League on TV, it feels I'm the type of guy that feels kind of a little bit lost. But when there's cricket on, it does rescue me every single time. So
Support
that
your
saves me.
national football
That saves
team.
me.
Support your national football team.
They're
That's what
doing
you
quite
need.
I
well,
support.
actually. Shout out.
Yes.
That's a great time to be a Bafana
Yes.
fan. Yo, actually, I
I
saw
will
the
start
result against
supporting them.
Ethiopia and I was like, no, what? I can't believe my eyes. No,
The
they're
last
fooling me. I'm going to have faith and then they're going to destroy it again.
the last World Cup qualifiers we had Ethiopia in our group, and there was the worst ever goal you'll ever see in Bafana colors that we conceded, and it was ridiculous. But they did make us play in a stadium where there was a moat, and like you had to take a boat over into the stadium. It was in the middle of like a lake. It was ridiculous. It was probably one of the most hostile environments I've ever experienced in African football, and I've seen quite a few. So yeah, it's ridiculous. It was unbelievable.
Sipo, I didn't get to hear anything from your side with regards to the CSA T20 knockout tournament quite yet. I want to know your thoughts on some of the games, maybe some of the players that you've seen. There's been obviously all the pools are
Oh.
basically almost over, all the games are almost done almost. So, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's been an interesting look. I haven't been deep within it. I've been catching things from time to time. I saw when Herschel America was dancing up a storm at the beginning. That was pretty cool. Um, just just the fact that we have these divisions has been pretty interesting, and watching how the level of cricket is starting to level out, because these teams like the Northern Cape, for example, they have pretty decent bowlers, but in terms of like the fielding and yeah, the 10% of the game that takes you to the next level, that's where they're really lacking. And I could see how these types of games and this types of tournaments is actually going to be great for them. It was great to see the under 19 team as well. That was, even though they got walloped, they got destroyed. But I mean, having the ability to sort of play against professional teams like Division 1 teams would do wonders for moving up the ranks, moving up and down the ranks, and transitioning into international cricket. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And for you guys that haven't seen, we have quite a few interviews that we've done since the start of the tournament. So go into our exclusive interview section and go watch all of them. It gets some interesting insight into the T20 game. But going into our topic, there was an SMS or WhatsApp, sorry, that I got from Aditya, which made me agree and nod my head because I was thinking of it before I came onto the show. Aditya just put it really nicely, and he said, 41-year-old out of form MSD has taken responsibility by batting ahead of informed Jadeja. Now, I'm looking at that particular WhatsApp and I'm thinking about it and I'm listening to it and I'm thinking that's a perfect segment to add into this segment because we're looking at who's going to give the Proteas the best possible chance, to succeed in this particular World Cup. And I think a big factor is that no fear is a massive key in T20 cricket, especially in knockout games. And MS Dhoni showed that today. He showed that no fear. And I hope that some of our South African players can also show that guts and no fear when they lead into this tournament. So I'm going to go around the screen over here and just get some thoughts of who you guys think will be the players that are really going to tip South Africa into a positive scale of competing in this World Cup, and maybe who can take us forward and maybe put us in a final, perhaps, or at least get us to the knockout stages, deep into the knockout stages. Seeing that a lot of people have already written us off, so let's go Aditya and Paul, and then we can Seppo can go.
Well, I think South Africa and just about every team in the World Cup, in order to make some sort of progress, is going to have to do the basics right. The batsmen are going to have to do reasonably well. The bowlers are going to have to do well. So, Quinny, Temba, Aiden, it's important for them to have good tournaments. Equally important for Tabrez Shamsi, KG, and Andrik Nokia to have good tournaments. But I think the weakest link and perhaps the most important is the middle overs, the 5, 6, and 7. I think their performance will determine how far South Africa go in the tournament, and I hope they come to the party. So
is it more
to be specific? Sorry, I'd say David Miller, Dwayne Pretorius, Vian Mulder, that group of players.
And Paul, is it more about for South Africa about coming together as a unit and performing than individual brilliance? Or do you think South Africa's only chances is if Quinny scores a massive score, or Aiden performs on the day, and Shamsi takes bedazzles the opposition batsman?
Look, I don't think we need to be speaking from a place of being pessimistic. If you look at how this tournament is supposed to be, and I'll answer the question in this. If you win your first 2 games, and this is the key to this World Cup, South Africa just need to beat the West Indies and Australia, and they have 1 foot in the semi-finals. There's no Super Sixes, there's no quarterfinals, there's nothing. You've got 2 opponents that you know. And so here's the thing. The one opponent struggles against spin. That is the West Indies. You have to have Keshav has to be insane against the West Indies. Well, actually not insane. He has to be the same Keshav we've seen so far. He's been one of the best spin bowlers in the world right now that doesn't have an IPL contract, so he's obviously not going to be being watched right now. And Tabrez Shamsi is going to be so key. Even in the games against Australia, the middle overs, how you control those middle overs from a bowling perspective, because that's how this team is set up. This team is set up to go in with 6 batsmen and 5 bowlers. And Aiden Mockham's going to be a 6th bowler. But if Aiden bowls at any point in this tournament, it kind of will give you an indication of where South Africa think they are from a bowling perspective. And you don't want to get there. You want to... They've effectively placed reliance on their 5 bowlers and the control of those middle overs. If one of your quicks essentially goes for runs, you might find yourself in a situation where you're in trouble. So essentially, it's the spearheads of the attack. It's Tabrez, it's KG, it's Andrik. If they don't come to the party, South Africa find themselves in a lot of trouble, because the way this team is set up is to deny boundaries. And the only way they can do that is if they bowl really well. So for me, against those 2 teams, I don't even consider any of the batting, because we found a way. South Africa somehow finds a way to score 160 runs. The question is, can you defend 170 or 160, or in worst case scenario 140, and that's going to go down to those three. If those three don't come to the party, we'll be looking to other players, and essentially it's not a team situation. It's going to become individual. Where it becomes more team like, it might be how they field well on the day, because as Aditya says, your basics need to be right. We saw in the CSA T20, the fielding standards in this country are the lowest I've ever seen since I've been alive. And so you don't want to carry that, or I know they're in the UAE, but you don't want to carry those jujus into the tournament. But for me, it's going to come down to those three. For us to even get to the World Cup. I see Dwayne Pretorius. He'll be there. I just don't know if I just don't think he's going to have much of a say, because he'll be batting at 7 and he'll probably be bowling somewhere in those middle overs. But the tone has to be set by those three guys. If one of them has an off night, and I was thinking about that today with Kagiso, if one of them has an off night and it's a 13 run off of 6 balls, and Kagiso's been going at 11 and over, like, I don't know how I'd feel as a South African. And so it's a lot of pressure on that bowling attack. I think I don't know if it's due or undue, but they're the ones who are going to carry us to this World Cup. I see what the batsmen can do, and if the batsmen can go over and above what they've already done right now over the past 3 series, then we win with a shot. But to win those 2 games, got to bowl like champions.
Chippo, what do you expect from our captain, Timba, and from his approach in the games? So what do you expect from him coming into this tournament?
I expect him to be cool, calm, and collected. I think what Umpo said about the bowling attack is something that's been obvious with our team for a while. It doesn't look like the game plan is anything but try to score 160 and we'll find a way to defend it. It's been working for us. And it just depends on the opposition that we bowl against. And yeah, it's about getting the big hitters out and restricting teams to not getting scores. And that's where Timba is going to be very integral in the field. So as we mentioned, fielding needs to be on point. So it's going to be in moments where a little bit of extra effort, gets the team morale up, and gets people really focused and engaged, because tournaments, it's literally about like moments where anything could have happened. But if you were the sharpest at that moment, like then you're A4 away. So I think in that respect, a team effort is going to be a really big deal, especially in the field, just getting that energy going. Because when the boys are pumped, you can see that they're pumped. Shamsi gets pumped, Kesh gets pumped. So yeah, it's all about getting that energy in the field. And he leads by example. That's what Timba's good at, like leading by example in the field especially. So that might be the feather in his cap, like his secret weapon. His presence in the field could take us to the next level.
Okay. I'm gonna add some Cali spice to this mix right now. So welcome to the show. Bye.
Good morning, guys.
You've heard what the guys had to say.
Sorry about the loss yesterday, man.
I'm not too disappointed. All right, so
you know what I'm talking about?
Is it RCB?
No, the Giants and the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah. Well,
or you're an A's man?
No, I'm a Giants supporter. I live near San Francisco, so they're kind of my team.
Okay, go LA.
Okay. So where were we at? I think we were talking about Temba and what he brings to the table. Well, I think if I had to start, I'd say he'll want to improve his consistency, because I know he scored 72 against Ireland, but before that he was really struggling to put together a substantial knock. I mean, we can go back to the series against West Indies, but I think he does bring to the table his experience. Like, he's led the Lions for several years, won multiple trophies. So I think he has a good cricketing brain. So even though he might be subject to lots of criticism, I think now's a good time to back him, shower him with plenty of support, and see how this tournament's going to go.
I mean, Aditya, we've been speaking about approach and tactics and all of those type of things for quite some time. I mean, in so many episodes of the Daily Show, in magazine issues as well as Cricket Fanatics Magazine. When you have a squad like South Africa has currently, um, and if you were the coach, what approach would you take based on what we've heard from other guys around the country? We've heard players speak about it. We've heard coaches speak about it. We've seen what the IPL has done. We've heard what their coaches and players say about it. If you had the particular squad, because at this moment we can't really change anything. The squad is what we have, and you have to play with the players that we have available. So it's easy to just say no, we should do this and should do that, but the squad is selected, and that's the squad we're going to have at the World Cup. So, what would you do? What is your approach from a mentality point of view, and maybe statistics or not statistics, tactics?
Whether you're a better bowler or a fielder, if you're in a position to be able to effect change in the game, take that responsibility and do it. Don't leave it to the next person. One thing I remember MS Dhoni saying in one of the recent games, because CSK's openers are among the top 5 run scorers in this year's IPL, Faf du Plessis and Ruturaj Gaikwad. And a key thing he said was that both openers have figured out the conditions on the day extremely well, and they've communicated that to the team so that the team knows what to expect and they can then tailor their game accordingly. It's important for Quinton de Kock and Temba Bavuma, or whoever opens for South Africa, to do the same thing so that they can then tailor the game according to what the conditions offer. So when Boucher keeps talking about aggressive but smart, I think that's the smart that I would like to see. And I hope that happens, but ultimately to me, it's about taking responsibility. If you're in the middle, if you're the set batsman, take the responsibility and finish the game. Don't leave it to the designated finisher. It doesn't matter whether you're an opener or number 3.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think that's that's a narrative we all want to see is players take responsibility, particularly the senior players as well. One position that I'm a little bit worried about, Mbo, and I don't know, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. It is Rassie van der Dussen, because I feel like at the moment his position in the squad seems to be when we are in trouble, he bails us out. And if we're not, then he doesn't bat. Almost like that's how it comes that's how it looks to me. Because Rassie can play his natural game and worry about batting deep and getting as much runs on the ball as possible when we are in trouble. When there's 3 down, when there's 2 down, dependable on the match situation. But the way Aiden's performing at the moment currently, it almost seems like Rassie is forced to bat at 4 or maybe even at 5, dependable on who's available in the lineup and who they pick. So your thoughts on Rassie and how they should utilize him in the squad? Is that the role for Rassie?
Look, I think Rassie's role is look, you'd want Rassie to bat as high as possible to give him a lot of time to get in, because he takes a very long time to get in. But Rassie's also very clever because he understands the situation of the game and what the team wants. And the way in which this team works, the way in which it's been communicated to us, which is very frustrating to the fans, is that you want one of your top 3 or top 5 batting in over 15. That's counterintuitive to necessarily where the rest of the world is going, where everyone's just attacking, largely because they bat deep, but they attack from ball 1, and if it's a monumental failure where you get to about 140 after you've attacked, they're willing to live with that. Whereas South Africa doesn't want to live with that. South Africa wants to live with a minimum baseline. And that minimum baseline is 150. And for you to score 150, you're going to have guys with lower strike rates, but guys who can accelerate at the end and rotate the strike. So we're more of a strike rotation side rather than a boundary hitting side, which irritates the life out of me. But that's the strategy that they've chosen and they've implemented throughout the West Indies series, throughout Ireland, throughout wherever. In that series against West Indies, they scored more boundaries than us, but not somehow, but we ended up winning that series. It shows you what the tactic is. So Rassi's role in that side is to be the backstop. He is the backstop. The guys at the top, and this is how I would play it. Temba and Quinny open. Number 3 is Aiden. Number 4 is Rassi. Number 5 is David Miller. And I'm dead certain Heino Claessen's going to bat at 6. And to a certain extent, they're going to say to that 6, get us to over 15, and we can accelerate from over 15. It doesn't matter what it looks like. We can back ourselves to score 50 runs from over 15. We just hope as the fans, we're at 130 by the time we get to over 15. So the Aiden's role is now going to be a lot more clearer. He's going to be very attacking, similar to the way he's played at the Kings 11 Punjab. You're going to have Temba being, and I hate this word, the anchor, and Rassi's going to be the backstop if things fall apart, because Rassi's going to need time. If Rassi comes in after over 15, there's no point. But because we lack batsmen after number 6, he's going to bat anyway, unless if Quinny and Aiden or Temba have had a really great run and there's like 2 overs left, and quite frankly, you might as well give Bjorn Fortuin an opportunity to hit the ball. So it's gonna be that, and it's because it's the way we've been playing. It's always, and all the guys are telling you. Even Reza told us in the press conference, we want one of the top 5 to be batting at over 15. So if one of the top 5 is going to be batting at over 15, there are going to be periods in the game, if we lose a lot of wickets, where it's going to stall. And so Rassi is important to that, because Rassi can accelerate when the team needs him to accelerate. He can decelerate and look for singles as you go along. I think that's where Rassi's versatility has always been. If you look at the way the Lions played in that CSA T20, he was that guy. He batted at 3. He batted at 4 in that tournament, and he scored the most runs in that tournament, batting at number 4. Even though every time he came in, the Lions were like 9 for 2, 10 for 2, or 20 for 2 in the middle of the power play. I'd prefer Rassi to come to the power play, but I think if that happens, that'll be okay, but it might be a little bit of a disaster, because you might then be looking at the lower end of your spectrum when you're looking at about 150, depending on whether Rassi can start hitting the boundary. Because to a certain extent, Rassi's got that one release shot, that slog sweep over Kyle corner, as Sep was just showing you right now. And so the question is, will he be able to give us the other shots that he has in his book to try and get it going? But I think that's the way this team plays. And I'm happy that without Faf, the role is a lot more clear for guys like Aiden and for guys like Rassi, and it gives them that opportunity. Add Faf into the mix, it becomes a little bit more clouded and a little bit more tough for guys like Rassi to be able to execute their role. So I think there's a lot more clarity with the selection, but they're a batsman. The squad has always been a batsman light.
Yeah,
I mean,
sorry.
Continue to.
Oh yeah,
I like it when
jump
you
in
guys
there.
do speak out of yourselves. Actually, I don't have
awesome.
to be on this show. You guys can just openly talk to each other.
Yeah. So I like what you mentioned about if Faf comes into the mix, it becomes super duper complicated, because it basically just illustrates the point of South Africa having a surplus, like a mad surplus of top order batsmen, or just batsmen that need time to get in. Like, we have very few people that can come in and just off the tee really get going. Like, I want to say like Glenn Maxwell, for example. Glenn Maxwell had a fantastic IPL. But without that being said, I mean, the likes of David Miller and Heinrich Klaassen are supposed to be our finishers, but they just don't have the enough like juice in the tank to really get us going like the likes of England. So I guess what we're just seeing is us trying to work with a bunch of top order batsmen. And what we just decided was, look, we're going to try and have our best batsmen in at the end and not have to make them bat only 7 balls and then have to get a score, because even Heinrich Klaassen like really struggles to get going. We saw in the West Indies, as much as I was like roasting him at the time, it was like 4 balls, to really get in there. It's difficult. It's a big ask.
I really like what you said about South Africa being sort of top order heavy, and that's also reflected in the selection because of Reza Hendricks coming back into the mix, right? And Temba coming in at 3, because I think that's a position too low for everyone in the rest of the batting order, and that's not particularly wise, given that South Africa's weak point in that batting order is its middle order and the lack of finishers in the mix. So that's a bit odd. And like Compose said earlier, that if South Africa beat Australia and the West Indies, they've got a foot in the semi-finals. And my worry for South Africa is that they need to hit the gas right from that first ball of that game against Australia. So they need to be on the money right from the beginning. They don't have time to sort of ease into the tournament. And I hope that happens.
Aditya, to your point about Reza, I think South Africa's best 11 is not with Heinrich on the bench. It's actually with Reza on the bench. And I when you mentioned that Reza could open and Temba could bat at 3, that could be the worst combination from a balance perspective you could find, because Heinrich Klaassen, as much as we rip him, is a much better back end innings 16 to 20 hitter, and he's the best one we have in the squad. So if Mark Boucher comes out and says Heinrich Klaassen's there as a backup wicketkeeper, I'm writing this World Cup off.
Exactly.
Because Aiden's batting too low, Rassie's batting too low, David Miller's batting too low. So then why are we there in the first place?
Exactly. So Reza coming back into the mix is creating problems for South Africa, which is why I said that South Africa is too top order heavy. With Faf coming back into the mix, assuming that happens, that's another story in itself. That's another discussion in itself. But that's something that has to be considered here, because he scored like 550 runs in this IPL. And that's a separate discussion, obviously.
Yes, something I wanted to add, now that there's a mention of being top heavy. If we look at the IPL, if we look at how the Sunrisers went, their middle order is too soft and not strong enough. So players like David Warner and Kane Williamson, they had to play more carefully in order to prevent the weak middle order from getting exposed time and time again. So similarly with South Africa, there are a lot of viable top order options, but at the same time, the whole finisher conundrum is something that hasn't been solved yet. And I think that's very key, especially when it comes to boundary hitting ability. I think Seppo mentioned South Africa's been more of a strike rotating team in recent times versus boundary hitting, and especially boundary hitting at the death matters a lot, because even if we look at the West Indies series, Proteas may have scored 160 odd, but it was kind of a trend seeing the run rate kind of slow down a little bit towards the end of the innings.
But I mean, if they were looking for a complete boundary hitting type of opener or type of batsman, that's when I got like a little bit irritated with that because of Janneman. Because I know maybe in T20 cricket we're seeing him what he can do in one day internationals, but as the next in line big hitting opening batter, I see Janneman as that guy for South African cricket. I don't know what you guys' thoughts on him is, because that was the big shock. But unfortunately, that's what
I definitely rate him highly. Yeah.
Did you watch him?
Yeah.
Looks like the selectors were onto something.
that might be the confidence of not getting picked to the South African side. Okay,
Look,
he has to carry
hey.
that.
Where's Aaron? Aaron will tell you Lord John gave us a revenge season of note. He even took wickets. That's how deep it was. Everybody else was trying to silence the selectors. Even Sisanda did that with his super over. Yanaman Malan, we've been waiting. We only got 12 balls. 12 balls in 3 games.
I mean, at
But
least
it's
we
fine.
can say with the talent in South Africa. People are talking about South African cricket and how dead it is. The talent in this country is unbelievable. I mean, even from yes, it's under 19 didn't do what we would have okay. Some people might have expected it, some people might not have. But ultimately, we did see one or two couple of guys coming through. This for me, it's under 19 is about finding maybe two or three guys out of the setup come through the system and make it. That's what it's for me, because ultimately there are still guys that are in the system from the previous under 19 setup that are currently doing well too. I mean, we've got even guys that I remember that played with Reiner van Tonder and those outs, like Jean Duplessis. I mean, captaining SWD, him coming through the system. We've got Tristan Stubbs, a youngster, also coming through the system, doing well. Sorry about this. This is interference on your side. I'm just going to mute you until you speak.
I was also happy with the style of play they played. They were
Yes.
As you spoke earlier on, you spoke about fearless cricket. Those kids did not care. Those kids
That's the
did
thing.
the ball. They got to 172 with a pretty light batting lineup in that first game, which I was like, okay, this is quite impressive.
And that is coming straight from Shukri Conrad. And that's what he's been speaking to us about since I started interviewing, speaking to him about how he's going to approach this. And it's about that constantly that message has come out about playing that fearless brand of cricket. That's the intention that matters. Like we've spoken about it a lot. You want to see these youngsters play with that intention, because if 2 or 3 of them, if Diego Previs now comes into the Northern setup, which he's going to be doing, and he gets an opportunity, we know what type of cricket we expect from him. Immediately we know.
Can I say an unpopular opinion about that Northern setup if he ever joins? He would, if he played for Northerns. If Diego Previs didn't play for SA under 19, but played for Northerns in this tournament, he would have been Northern's best batsman by a mile in this tournament.
That's not an unpopular opinion to me. The boy.
Well, there's a test captain. Our test captain player is captain of Northerns, and they just stunk up the joint.
I don't know. Look here.
Isn't he captain of Titans?
Exactly. He batted at
Titans is
2.
Northerns.
Yeah, of Northerns. Yeah.
It's the same team. Yeah.
Didn't they qualify?
They did.
Yeah, but like
it was,
they almost didn't. There was
the mighty Southwestern Districts is going to show them live on the 19th.
Okay. Oh, we'll see.
That's Triple Steve there we're talking about.
I'm not going to speak too loud. I don't want to end up.
Do you know where I think the Titans will really show class, show their talent? I think is in the Momentum One Day Cup. I honestly think that's where they're going to really be dominant. Maybe they will tip the name, but I mean the Dolphins across formats, they're looking dangerous. I must say as well. I mean, I like the competition. There's proper competition in this tournament this time around. I don't think there's for once I'm going into a season thing. Anything can happen. Anybody can do. Anybody can do.
Hold up.
I don't think anybody's favorites.
No, we do. We have favorites, and it's the Dolphins.
Yeah, we know that the Lions can't win it. That's all we know.
No.
That's all we know so far. Is that the Lions?
But the Lions didn't win the 4-day cup. The Lions didn't win the 4-day cup. It was the Dolphins. The Dolphins are the favorites, and then the Lions are probably going to come fourth. I'm expecting Western Province to do something. I hope you guys do something. But from what I've seen, it's the Knights, but I know the Knights don't play well away from home, and it's the Dolphins. They are very, very good. And also, remember, all the county guys are now going to be back. Heino Kuhn comes back for Northwest. Sian Vincel comes back for Paul. Lias Duploy somehow is playing Division 2 cricket again, which is ridiculous. And so it makes it a lot more competitive. And it's ridiculous. Like, I look at this T20 tournament, I'm like, I want more cross-divisional games. And I wish we had a week where we had, in the 4-day, where there was a cross-divisional game, because I want to see Easterns come up against Northwest, because that game today was very good. I enjoyed that game today. So that's the only thing. But outside of that, give it to the Dolphins. They know what they're doing. They have everything on lock. It's like why are we even fighting?
We're gonna seal
Come on.
this.
I think T20 anything can happen. We know that. We see it in the IPL every single time. So I think in T20 tournaments, it's almost a gamble every game you play. But is it possible for Devak now? If say it's under 19, obviously out of the competition, right? So, like, is it possible for Devak to like go to the
No,
to the Northern Zimbabwe play for
I
them, or
would
they just-
complain. I'd be the first one to complain, but I wouldn't mind. Actually,
I would
wouldn't
love
mind
to see it.
I wouldn't mind it because right now Mandla and Jeff are giving us 2016's Titans. I think the big thing for the Titans, they need Tennis the Brain back. Tennis the Brain makes that team look a lot better from a batting perspective. So if Tennis and Devil Brevis in that middle order makes it a little bit more interesting, but you can't give me Dean Alga and Neil Brunt at the top and tell me you're going to win games.
Okay, guys, let's just wrap this up. Let's go through your final points about the main topic for tonight, just to give the fans that have come on later. Please smash the like button, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Also, download the latest issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine, and all the back issues are 100% free. The links are in the description and will be in the eye on the top of the screen tomorrow. But let's just have the final say. Let's go Tsepo, Abai, Aditya, Umpo.
Okay. I just want to say that I don't know if we're gonna win this tournament. I'm gonna enjoy it if we get to the knockout stages, but I'm not sure about if we're gonna win this tournament. So I'm not gonna get my hopes up at all. But I do want us to fight. That's all I want. I don't have expectations to win. Just a really good, like, if we go out, we must go out fighting, like a one run loss. We came close. That's all I want.
Well, I think first of all, it's good. It's good to dream big, but at the same time, just like what my colleague just said, I'm gonna keep expectations a bit on the smaller side. At the end of the day, I just want to enjoy the tournament, see high quality cricket being played all around, and hope for the best.
I hope South Africa makes wise decisions going into the World Cup and during the World Cup, because the outcome is out of any team's control, but you can focus on the process a little bit and hope that it's the right one. So as I said it at the beginning of the show, I hope South Africa does the basics well, but it would be up to that middle order to fire if South Africa are really to have some chance of winning this World Cup. And additionally, it's probably not going to happen, but I'm going to say it anyway. They should strongly reconsider Faf du Plessis in that World Cup. I think they need him.
I don't know what's going on with you guys. I don't understand where the hope all went. Tepo, Abai. Guys, the reason why I'm so critical of this team in between tournaments is because this moment, I am now back. I have always backed them. You need to back these guys. They can win it. They can do it. And this is how they can do it. You need to find a balance, a 6-5 split. We're okay with that. We know where our weaknesses are. Our bowlers are going to come through. Our bowling attack is probably one of the best at the tournament. If you look at all the other squads around the world, India is leaps ahead of everybody else, but we come second to them, I think. And the way these pitches are going to be, by the time you get to the semifinals, it's going to be slow. It's going to be 160 plays, 140 with the scoreboard pressure. If you bat first, that South Africa will do because Temba's the lucky charm coin tosser, and then you can just put pressure on the other teams. And because it's 140, 150, that's into our ballpark. That's what South Africa has made their money over the past year. So this is what it is. We have to believe that they can do it. They've had 2 to 3 months to prepare for Australia and the West Indies. They've seen them. They should be watching videos. They should have an ironclad game plan. The only teams you should be working for are the 2 qualifiers after that. and we don't even know who they are, so that's fine. So you've had 2 months to prepare for 2 games. 2 games. You can do it. I think they can do it. And it's finding the balance with the six batsmen and the 5 bowlers, managing those middle overs well, and the senior players have to step up. Everybody needs to pull their share. And I believe we can, because I think we can win those 2 games. Win those 2 games, you effectively eliminate Australia and West Indies, and you just make sure that you don't lose to the qualifiers. And then in Sharjah, you play fearless cricket, you go guns blazing. Look, for me, I see a path to winning this World Cup. And it's predicated on the fact that we win our first 2 games. If you get to the semi-finals, anything can happen. You saw tonight, Chennai were looking a little bit ragged towards the back end, and then Mahendra Singh Dhoni comes in. He was off form, and somehow he hits a few boundaries and they win. I see Heino Klaasen doing that, or David Miller doing that in a semi-final to take us over the line. Yes, I've had a lot of heartbreak, but this is the moment we need to back these guys. I don't like the people I don't like the coaching staff, but this is the moment. If they prepare well, we can win this thing. Win your first 2 games, and you're there.
And I think that's
it's within their thing.
And I think South Africa have prepared as best as they could for this World Cup. I think they're as prepared as they could be. Conditions that they played before, the way Aiden is looking at the moment, I think he will be key to this particular World Cup performance and the World Cup performance this season. And I hope and I'm liking almost like that he's kind of out of form a little bit now because, he's not hitting all his best performances out there in the IPL. It's good. He can come to the World Cup there and then turn it on. He's got enough experience for that now. No, but ultimately, I back South Africa 100%. I will always back South Africa going into any World Cup tournament. So it doesn't matter what has happened before. I think every single year, it's a different team. We passing down this choker mentality onto the next generation of guys that weren't even there. You know what I mean? With regards to those times where we've choked semifinals or knockout tournaments, ultimately, if you look at the World Cup finals, there's more guys in this squad in this final that have won in a difficult position in a knockout game than have lost. So if you look at it from that perspective, we should be able to get over the line. But I'm hoping that they do. I think they have the best chance to do so. It will be from the preparations perspective. You might look at the talent and you might look at the squad and maybe say, we don't think so. But South Africans are always going to back their nation. And we will deal with the heartbreak together. And that's why we're a family. We can come here on Cricket Fanatics Magazine afterwards and cry about it. And the link will be out to all of you guys after each game that we don't perform for you guys to express your views. So just click that notification bell, guys, and subscribe so that you can have those updates on when we do those shows. To everybody out there, thanks a lot. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And for the rest of the week, I hope you have an excellent, excellent day and weeks ahead and a week ahead, sorry. And, just have some fun. We have a World Cup coming around the year, around the corner. We've got a new issue of Cricket Fanatics Magazine, the World Cup edition coming around the corner. So stay tuned to all platforms and watch this space. Mpo, Aditya, Abai, Tsepo. Good evening, guys. Thanks a lot for coming on the show. And we'll see you guys again tomorrow with another daily show. Take care, everyone.